Welcome everyone to Talks at Google. I'm Juliet Ehiwanchi-Azor, and I'm the country manager for Google in Nigeria. We have a special guest today, and that is the extremely beautiful and inspirational Mo Abudu.
Thank you.
Today is a special International Women's Day edition. The theme for this year is being bold for change. Be bold for change, actually. We've taken inspiration from that, and the theme of this particular talk is being bold in entrepreneurship. And I think Mo exemplifies boldness in entrepreneurship. So once again, thank you for being here, Mo.
Thank you for inviting me, Judith. It's good to be here. It's good to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm going to start by reading her profile, and then we'll get into the conversation. So Mo Abudu has achieved success in various fields. First, as an executive in ExxonMobil for nearly a decade, as the promoter behind the Protea Hotel Oakwood Park, as well as the founder of Creator and Hostess, one of Nigeria's leading outsourcing firms. She entered the world of media as the creator and hostess of Moments with Mo, earning the accolade of Africa's First Lady of Chat. The show was the first of its kind to be syndicated across Africa, with an impressive guest list that includes Hillary Rodham-Clinton, President Muhammadu Buhari, and Christine Lagarde, amongst others. 3 years ago, she launched Ebony Live TV, which is Africa's first global Black entertainment and lifestyle network for premium homegrown entertainment. And in 2014, she started Ebony Live Films. Her debut film, 50, and her second film, The Wedding Party, in partnership with the Elphick Film Collective, both premiered at prestigious international film festivals and broke box office records nationwide. I think that deserves a round of applause. Mo is highly sought after for her in-depth knowledge on the African and global creative industry. She has spoken at the University of Cambridge, George Business School, Wharton School of Business, Harvard University, and New York University Stern School of Business, amongst others. Mo has received international recognition by Forbes as the first African woman to launch a Pan-African TV channel, as well as Africa's most successful woman.
Hey!
She has also been recognized by CNN as Africa's Queen of Media, who conquered the continent. So once again, welcome, Mo.
Thank you for having me.
It's really great to have you here.
It's good to be here, in the hot seat.
In the hot seat,
Yes.
Absolutely. Switching roles. So, a lot of people have dreams, right? And a lot of people struggle to make the jump required to achieve those dreams, especially when it involves going into a new space. Now, that's something you've done quite a few times in your career. From the early days, you left the security of paid employment to set up a HR consultancy firm, Creator and Associates. Subsequently, you started a talk show, Moments with Mo, which was new territory for you. What inspired you and gave you the courage to take those initial steps?
When I decided to leave ExxonMobil, it was a really big jump for me because, yes, there's nothing like working in oil and gas in Nigeria. I mean, it's a job for life, so to speak, unless you do the undoable. But if you just go to work and do the normal things, you get paid well, you get a pension, you build a nice house, and everything really is going to be just fine. But I think that as an entrepreneur, or for me, there was this unsettling feeling that there were certain things that I felt that I had to do. And I think when that feeling comes, it can be obsessive. It can almost be as if it's an addiction of some sort. You just feel that you have to do everything within your power to achieve that particular obsession. So, yes, I had a great job. And the other day, it was actually the birthday of the PA to the old MD of ExxonMobil. So she had invited me to come, and it was just last Friday. And I went along to Exxon, and I saw all my old colleagues there. And I was thinking to myself, wow, it could have been a really comfortable life. But then I decided otherwise. And the thing is that when you decide otherwise, there are no guarantees about that decision that you have taken. You don't know how it's going to turn out. So at times, I'm like, my God, what about if it had gone wrong? But I think sometimes you need to take those steps, because what really happens if it goes wrong? What is the worst? So for me, I'm always like, what is the possible worst thing that can happen? The possible worst thing that can happen is go and get another job. So I think once you understand that you are not afraid of what the worst outcome can be, and you then look at the positivity of what the upside can be, and then once you are prepared, I think preparation is important. You can't just go into wanting to leave paid employment without having had a secure plan about what you're going to do once you have left paid employment. So before I left, I was kind of like walking on two sides of the street at the same time. I had started with Lawrence already. Working with ExxonMobil, you have to declare absolutely everything. So I declared that I did have an interest in a consulting firm. We were doing some business. I did employ some staff to look after the business for me. So when I could see that there were many more possibilities, and I can't achieve those possibilities by staying in a 9-to-5 job, I then had to decide about resigning. And I was warned about resigning. I was told that, no, listen, you can go to Houston. Prior to then, I'd gone to Houston on sort of 3-month, sort of out of station work opportunities, some shorter. So I had all these opportunities there. And I was told, Mo, you can grow here. My MD said, Mo, don't leave. But I just said, I have to leave, and I just took that plunge, knowing that, okay, once I'm out of ExxonMobil, I have no alternative now than to do absolutely everything within my power to make that transition work. So I gave plenty of notice, about 6 months notice, and whilst I was doing that, I was sort of trying to build up on the outside, sort of find an office and find staff and get Vic Lawrence on the right footing. So it can be scary. You can't just leave. You do have to plan. There are no guarantees that it's going to work. But I always believe that, with a great plan, if you're ready to work hard, and if you put God first, I do believe that you will get the results that you need. Even, of course, you're going to be challenged. You're going to go to many, many meetings, and people are going to say no to you. But for me, each time I hear no, I'm like, I'm one notch closer to a yes. Because I totally believe in the law of averages. Everybody cannot say no. At some point, you're going to get to that yes. Is that yes going to help me break even that month? Am I going to be able to pay my salaries that month? At some point, you have to understand that you can't go into business thinking that you're going to make a huge profit as soon as you set up that business. That business has to grow. You're going to have to look at the fact that you may not be able to take extensive holidays, or you may not be able to do all the things you could even do whilst you are fully employed. What are the sacrifices that you're ready to make that business work? Because sometimes we're not ready for the sacrifice. You want to continue living the life that you led when you were being paid 9 to 5, and there was a big company car, and there was this, and there was the other. You may have to just sort of take a step back to see what those things are that you're going to have to just say, well, I can't do that for now. So, yeah, I don't know if that's answered the question.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very, very well. And you talking about making it work, right? With Vic Lawrence Associates, that was an area of your expertise.
Yes.
Because you were head of HR at ExxonMobil.
Yes.
That's a path that is a bit more familiar for a lot of entrepreneurs, setting up a business in your area of expertise.
Yes.
But that does not guarantee success.
It doesn't.
So what were the things that you put in place to make it work?
Well, the first thing I did was to get a small office, make sure that I employed a few experts that I could afford at the time. Because one thing I find about going into entrepreneurship is that sometimes the best people that you want, you can't really afford them, because they themselves want to become entrepreneurs and they want to do other things. So, you have to sort of comb the market to find the best people that you can and offer them the necessary incentives for them to come on board as part of your team. So that was really important for me. And being a HR person, I knew that it was important to have, the right team in place. So it's about having the right team. It was about having a work environment that I thought was attractive enough for clients to be able to visit. It was about setting up all those processes and procedures, making sure you have a phone that's working, making sure you have letterhead, making sure you have an email address. I mean, in those days, there was only Hyperia. So our email address then was vic@hyperia.com. It's not like today where you can sort of, do all, it's incredible how things have changed. But at one point, all you could do in Nigeria to get an email address was you had to go to Hyperia. So we had vic@hyperia.com, set up all the paperwork, and then you start the cold calling. You then start running your business. You then start going out for business meetings. You then start trying to persuade everyone to come on board and to do business with you. And what I used to say to my team then was that you can't go in there day one expecting that they're going to give you that business. They're going to have to there has to be a period through which you're going to have to go out there, find out what their needs are, and keep going back and keep going back. Until at some point, you're going to pick up maybe some small crumbs, and then, may turn into, prove yourself, and then they're going to trust you more, and they're going to trust you more. And I think that's basically what we started doing. We just made sure that we were just out there every day, covering every possible opportunity that we found, with all the banks, with all the telcos, with all the FMCGs, with absolutely, even in those days, even, public sector, government work, So we're just basically just out there, just sort of reaching out to everyone. And what I noticed was that it was important for me to be the chief marketing officer of the company. You can employ someone to do that role, but ultimately a lot of it boiled down to what you were also doing in trying to make things happen at the same time. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I see your point as well about, as an entrepreneur, you're pretty, you own the vision, right? And you're the chief marketer.
Yes.
Especially
yes.
Early days.
And you've got to get everyone else to buy into that vision and own the vision and take responsibility for the achievements of the vision. Perfect. Yeah.
And then you set up Moments with Mo, which was...
No, before then, there was the Protea Hotel Oakwood Park.
Yes.
There was Oakwood Park. So whilst I was busy with Vic Lawrence, what I had found was that there weren't really any purpose-built training and conference facilities in Nigeria. We'd use the Sheraton Hotel in Ikeja, we'd use the Eco Hotel, we'd even use a place called TCC Ogere, which is outside of Lagos on the way to Ijebu. And in those days, there were no phones. I mean, today, the world has changed. People don't know how lucky they are at times setting up a business in the Nigeria of today versus what it was like back then. So I would have a team in TCC Ogere. I would be dialing the number to get through to them. Maybe after 100 tries, I would get through to some landline that started with 860, whatever it was in those days. So we did a lot of training there. So for me, the challenge then was, okay, you're going to focus on training and development, but where are the purpose-built centers for this? Eco Hotel, there could be a wedding going on next door, then you have a training event going on, people can't concentrate. Pretty much the same happened at the Sheraton Hotel. TCC Ogere was really far. I started thinking about putting together a center. So it started pretty much as just a center that could, you could sleep there. You could also have the training center there. And then one fine day, I was at a cocktail, which is why it's important to go out and network. And then I bumped into Dick Kramer. Dick Kramer is a lovely old man that's been in Nigeria probably for about 50 years. He's actually set up Accenture and KPMG, and he's been like a mentor to me over the years. And I said, Dick, I've got this project. I really want to start my own sort of like TCC Ogere. And he said to me, but Mo, why don't you brand it? Why not get a group like the Protea Hotel involved to brand? So that now got me off on another trail of, okay, let's see if we can get them involved. And initially they said no, but sometimes people say no, you have to ask, why are they saying no? So went back again and again and again. Eventually they said yes. We had done some plans initially. We had to change the plans to be more suitable to a hotel. The cost of investment of building the Protea Hotel went up like tenfold from it just being a nice little training center to it now having some sort of, 3-star standard. Of course, I was invested in it, and I found that my investment in terms of my shareholding was dwindling because I couldn't afford to take on the huge investment that it was. I mean, I was 35 at the time. The project cost in those days was $10 million. And I just wasn't going to be able to do it alone. So I had to say to myself, do you want to see this become a reality? Even though you may end up owning a smaller share Or do you just want to sit back and say, well, I'm just going to build a little center which may not get all this branding and this, or do you want others to come in and be a part of it so that it can be a much bigger dream? And I said to myself, I'm going to go the route of let me get other investors in. So we got UBA trustees involved. We also got Midway Assurance involved and SA Inc. And that's basically how we got that project off the ground. So that was my second major project after having left ExxonMobil. And then it was a few years after that I don't know, sometimes
where the idea came from?
Yeah, the ideas just come. And I think that sometimes for me, when I'm invited to speak, I'm being asked, what inspires you? Where do the ideas come from? I have to just say it's God. I mean, it might sound a little bit basic, it may sound simple, it may sound, right, but that is the truth. Because what I find often happens to me is, and I will say this to anyone, never go to sleep without a notepad by your bed and a pen. Because for me, any idea that I've had is come in the middle of the night. That aha moment, yes. And those ideas come, and I find that if I haven't noted it down, by the time you wake up, you may have forgotten it. So I find that it's the clarity for me is always at some point in the middle of the night. And then I instantly just wake up and then I just write and write and write and write. And then I transfer that into some sort of PowerPoint presentation. And then I'm able to go out there and sell the idea. So that's happened one night. The Inspire Africa dream just came. Even the name Inspire Africa came. The name Moments with Mo didn't come for a while, but
had you been thinking, or was it like literally out of the blue? Because it looks like you're very good at identifying gaps in the market and opportunities. Right? So was that sort of in the space, and you were thinking, and then you got clarity?
Yeah.
Or it sort of just came like a light, like a flash?
The thing is that, the leaving ExxonMobil and setting up Vic Lawrence was easy because, it wasn't easy, but pretty much it was the same line of what I'd been used to. And then sort of doing the hotel project, I wasn't going to run the hotel. So again, I could see that, okay, and there was some sort of, you could see the alignment between Vic Lawrence and us servicing the Protea Hotel at the time. So this move into Moments with Mo, when that one came, I was concerned. I was concerned because you know how you're like, who are you going to tell? What are people going to think? We live in a society whereby sometimes, people get the wrong end of the stick, and I remember telling a particular person about this, and all the person could say, hey, I want to become a presenter, TV presenter. But for me, it was more than that. It was about the fact that we needed to be able to have a conversation around the things and the issues that are important to us as a people within the continent and within Nigeria more specifically. I mean, yes, I have watched the Oprah Winfrey show. I have watched the Ellen DeGeneres show. I mean, I can't do the Ellen thing. I mean, she's so funny. I'm like, how does she do it? I don't know. At the time, there was also the Tara Banks show. So all these shows were on the Mnet platform. Yeah. So I went in to have a discussion with Mnet about the fact that, when I gathered the courage and I had done the presentation, at this point, I hadn't told a lot of people about the idea. Went in to do a presentation to them just to see what they would think. And the initial response at the time was, why do we need this show? We already have a lot of talk shows. And it's incredible how the need for local content has changed in the last 12 to 13 years. Because then we didn't seem to have an appetite for local content. We didn't seem to crave it. We didn't seem to want it. We didn't seem to care if it existed or if it didn't even exist. So I kept saying to them, I think there's going to be a need for a show like this. And my reasons are that, yes, I am traveled. I can relate to some of the topics and the things that are being said on those shows. I mean, if I want to maybe that particular day Oprah's talking about weight loss, and they're going to be talking about eating asparagus or carrots or whatever it may be. But how is that relevant to a Nigerian that wants to lose weight? Where is she going to find asparagus? So for me, it was about bringing this message home and saying that how do we deal with issues in our environment? If a man is beating his wife and, she's a victim of domestic abuse, how is that show in America going to help her overcome that battle in Nigeria? Meanwhile, there are so many associations that are dealing with domestic abuse who you can call out to in Nigeria, who were having no FaceTime about having that conversation with, people that they could say, listen, if this is happening to you, I'm here to help you. I was a victim, now I'm a victor. There were no opportunities for that. How come we're not celebrating our own people that were achieving certain things in the world of fashion and music and so on and so forth. Now we have all the blogs, we have all of that. We didn't have those things 12 years ago. All we had then probably was city people if you wanted to know what was happening to XYZ.
It's like that whole industry has really come to life.
It's totally come to life in the last decade. It has exploded. You know, so it was really about telling them that there was a need. Thank God, eventually, Joe Hunda, who was then the MD of Mnet, eventually said, okay, Mo, I'm going to buy this idea. But you know what? I cannot fund it. I don't have money to commission you, but I will license your show. So he now suggested that you go and look for sponsors. I'd never been in the sponsors game prior to starting Moments with Mo. I didn't have a clue, but I thought, okay, in England, during the summer, I'd done all these sort of sales jobs. And I've been told you can sell sand to a sheep. So go out there and sell. So I went around, I went to the banks, I went to the telcos to try and sell Moments with Mo, looking at what would the benefits be, an opening billboard saying brought to you by XYZ company, adverts in between the show, product placements. Maybe if your color is red, we'll have red in the background. So I had to now start thinking about, okay, what are all those things I'm going to do to get them to commit? Because you can't just keep saying to somebody, be a sponsor. What is the value? What is the value you're giving to the sponsor? I mean, it happens to us every day. People come and say, be my media partner. Media partner, how? You want exposure on the channel, but what are we getting in return? So we need to get value so that we can give you some value as well. So that sort of opened up my eyes to the world of sponsorships and how to close those sort of sponsorship deals. And, I'd gone to one particular bank at the time and they were like, oh yes, I want to, the MD had said we were going to do it. And then this particular MD a month later hired a new head of corporate who now said, we're not going to do it. And I was totally devastated. But I thought to myself, am I going to let that get me down? I said, no. I had to pick myself up. I called a good friend of mine at the time called Mac Atase, who runs a small incubator consulting. You know Mac? I said, Mac, see me, see trouble. No sponsor again. What do I do now? And at the time, I was looking for a huge amount of money to start this show. He said, Mo, break it down. Why don't you just see if you can even do one season of this show? If you do one season successfully, then you can start growing from there. And that advice basically is what happened. He took me along to have a meeting with then the MD of Skybank, Mr. Sholakin Femiwa. I did my usual presentation to him. I'd never met the man in my entire life. And I walked away thinking, I wonder what he thinks. And eventually he said, we're not going to sponsor, but we want to invest in your company. And then they had the SME scheme and they bought into Inspire Africa. And that basically gave us the seed capital we needed to go build our own studio. Because we had to build our own space where we were going to have this conversation. It didn't exist. It's not like in the States where you could just walk into a studio, dry hire the studio, and record. We couldn't do that. So we then had to sort of get our studio space. And we were there in City Mall. Found an empty space. We sort of did it up as best as we could. And that's where we started Moments with Mo. And before that, I went on a training course.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask that.
Yes.
Because that's a road less traveled, because that was new territory.
Yes, yes.
I recall hearing you say that you had no prior media
None.
experience.
Never done it before.
So it was going into a new space.
Yes.
So how did you develop your own capacity and also position yourself in a way that you and the show could be taken seriously?
Yes. Well, before we started, thank God we had Skybank. So they came on board as an investor and also as a sponsor. And luckily, eventually, I was able to persuade MTN to come on board as a sponsor. So I had two strong brands that were associated with the Moments with Mo brand. And the very first interview I did, my goodness, was Professor Wale Soyinka. And I chased till he said yes. Because I thought I need to start this show with a bang. I need to have a really special guest. And that sort of gave the show the credibility that it needed. I went on a training course to learn how to be a presenter. At the time, Oprah had launched her 25 years in those sort of video DVD box sets. I bought the entire thing. I would watch and watch. Running a training consultancy firm, I got one of my instructors, Tony Osime at the time, to train me. So we'd train every weekend at the Protea Hotel. He would record me, would play back, would look at, Mo, you need to improve on this and improve on that. So I did all those things before I got started. So that kind of gave me a little bit of confidence. I was still very nervous, but I just found that once I got into the flow of the conversation, And once I was researched, it's important to prepare for your interviews. So I think a lot of advice to young girls out there that want to become presenters is not really about how you look or the shoes you have on. Yes, that's nice too, but it's really got to be about the quality of the conversation and the questions that you're asking and the topics that you're selecting. Because I found when I launched Moments of, I kept saying we need to have topics that are exciting and people are going to want to watch. So one of my episodes was this lady that said that she was the parent to 7 children that she claimed she had in 7 months. So we did lots of research about, okay, we went for the blood test, we interviewed her, she said she was the parent. At the end of the day, it turned out she wasn't the parent. I had another crazy episode with an armed robber. This guy was an ex-armed robber, and he sat and told me entirely how he got into it and how he got out of it. Another crazy episode was the snake eating episode. There are actually places where you can go and buy snake meat in Nigeria and eat snake, I'm thinking. And the lady came to the studio with the snake meat. It looks like chicken. And she said, try. I'm like, I ain't trying this one today. So it was really about finding those topics that would engage, that would be interesting, rather than just another, domestic abuse we covered. Of course, we celebrated lots of people on the shows. I probably did 1,000 episodes before I decided that I wanted to kind of take a back seat before we sort of started on this journey of Ebony Life Television.
Right. Yeah. Still on Moments with Mo. So you had several moments in the course of, I think it's over 10 years now.
Yes, 2016, yes. 2006 to 2016, 10 years, yeah.
From the discussions, were there personal lessons that you learned that really had a profound impact on you?
The thing is, when people that you don't know open up to you, they literally you find yourself in a situation whereby you think they're sharing things with you that you may otherwise not have known. And one of the episodes that I did for me that was very early on in my career that I found really touching was when that plane crashed in Port Harcourt. And it had all those children from the school in Abuja on the flight. And I had Mrs. Amakre, who lost her only daughter in the studio. And it was sitting next to a woman that not only did she come on the show, but she was able to share her pain and, how she dealt with the fact that her only child has been killed in a plane crash. And you find that those intimate moments are just moments that you're like, you can never just get them back. And, people are sharing things with you that are really, really private. And you're the custodian of that information. And how you treat it and how you treat them, I found to be, I had to find my own way of dealing with those kinds of issues. And you would leave a show at times and you're like, oh my God. And I used to do like 4 shows a day. Because in the world of production, that's the only way it can make financial sense. You can't be doing one a day. You lose the crew use your crew till they're tired. Even when they're tired, they'll still be recording. So at times you'd have to go from doing a very happy episode to doing a very sad episode to doing a different sort of episode. And at times your head is kind of like in different places. And I'm coming from a world where I haven't done this before. So having to deal with all of that was kind of, had its challenges. Yeah.
And it sounds like it was a lot of hard work.
It was.
People, when you see an entrepreneurial success story, it's very easy to celebrate it and to think, oh, it's all glam, etc. Yeah. But there's a lot of hard work, genuine hard work that goes into making anything successful.
Very much so. A lot of hard work. You've got to be well researched on whoever the guest is. I mean, for me, when I was doing Professor Wale Soyinka, I thought, you know what he's like? You can't sit on a set with him and not know what you're talking about. So I was petrified of that particular one. I must have read more than I would need for the interview. But you just have to be prepared. And for every single interview that I did, I had to be well researched. I had to have my questions with me. And sometimes, the response you get has no link to the next question. So you have to be very quick on your feet about how you're now going to sort of go back to them and get the necessary answers that you wanted. And at times we're going to have technical problems on set. Something isn't working. The generator has broken. We're dealing in an environment whereby your counterpart in another country doesn't have to think about those issues. Nobody cares. I mean, who cares about power? Who cares about some of those things here? But here you are dealing with those realities. Those are my realities every day that I had to deal with. Find a space that I could convert into a studio. Find staff that would understand the vision, that could get me the look and feel. Because at the time, as easy as it is, I mean, now that we do 1,000 hours of programming, a talk show is the easiest format in the world. But no one has still been able to replicate the moments with no format. In 10 years, I've not seen another talk show that has replicated the look and feel of talk. And for us, talk is the simplest thing for us on Ebony Live TV today. We've taken talk to a completely different level from things like Moments. Now we have Moment Z, which is with a much younger crop of young girls who are having a conversation around the things that are important to them. We have Love Lounge, which is about love, sex, and relationships. We've got Men's Corner, which is talk about things that men are fascinated about, that women also want to know about them. We have The Boot, which is really doing his own crazy thing. But it's all talk. So we've taken the talk and we've kind of given it its own twist. So it is a lot of work. Yeah. It is a lot of work. Even convincing sponsors to come on board. After you convince them, oh yeah, pay me. You're going to be chasing them around to get payment. Meanwhile, you have salaries to pay, you have crew, you have everybody else to pay. They're not going to wait for clients to pay you. You're talking to the bank, you're facilitating overdrafts here and there. You're doing all kinds of things just to keep the business going. Yeah.
So talking about Ebony Live TV, that's one of your more recent bold moves in entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I remember the tagline, everything you think you know about
Africa is about to change forever.
Forever?
Yes.
Can you share the vision behind that?
The vision behind that was that I remember a few years before then, I'd interviewed Hillary Clinton. And one of the key questions that I said to her was, how do we change the stereotypes about how we are perceived across the world? And she said to me, we have to have people like you speaking on behalf of Africa and putting a different image out there about the continent. Because even with Google, if you Google Africa, what are the first 10 images that come up? It's going to be poverty, it's going to be despair, it's going to be destruction. It's going to be all these images that the world view have of our continent. How do we change that world view? It's by creating the reality that the other reality that the world needs to see. And that other reality is showing that there are people like you and I in Nigeria, showing that there's this audience here, showing that we are capable. And that was how we came up with the tagline, everything you think you know about Africa is going to change, because we put a positive spin on everything. We didn't create these people. These people already existed, just didn't have a platform through which you could engage with them. So we gave that platform for engagement from let's make comedy, let's make reality, let's make talk, let's make scripted programming, let's do lifestyle, let's do everything that we can to show the world that this, and we have a tag, we have this stamp that we put on everything saying Ebony Live TV, made in Nigeria for the world. So good things can come out of our content and out of our country and can be exported. And that really was what it was all about. I mean, we go out to international exhibitions and people ask us, I don't know if it's a compliment or an insult, they say, was this really made in Nigeria? Yes, it was made in Nigeria. How about that? And yes, we can make things like that. Because they're so used to just all kinds, and we have to be careful about what we put out there.
And actually, interestingly, that's one of our priorities as Google in Nigeria. Just encouraging having local content.
Yes,
online. Great, amazing, business, educational content.
Yes.
So that's one of our priorities.
I mean, look at this conversation we're having today. I mean, it is.
Absolutely.
You're having it. So thank you again.
What are the challenges that you encountered in trying to set? Because that's a really big fit, right? Setting up your own TV channel. Everything you've mentioned prior to that, I know they were very challenging, etc. But this, I think, was in order of magnitude, probably another level.
It was.
So, what are the challenges that you went through in setting up and running Ebony Live TV, and what support systems and opportunities assisted you?
Now, I wake up one day and I decide that I want to launch a TV channel, and I had no idea how I was going to do it. But I just knew that deep down in my spirit, deep down in my soul, God said, Mo, go and do this.
Did it scare you?
Very scary. Very. And I think sometimes the scarier the dream, the more you need to pursue it. Because I think there's a message in there somewhere. Because if it's not scary, then what's the challenge? And for me, I'm like, okay, try. All you have to do is try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So the idea came. And one of the first people I called was my mom. My mom is always, she's my prayer partner, and she says she's my number one fan. So I said, Mommy, I'm doing this thing. Ma worry. Adura and law, as she always says. But that means that she's praying about it. So the next person I told was a friend of mine in South Africa, Sandra Amadio. Sandra's one of our producers then on Moments. Because when we did Moments, we used to have a Pan-African spin to a lot of our shows. And she would go around Africa sort of shooting similar stories for the show at the time. So I said to Sandra, I want to start a TV channel. And Sandra's like, all right, that sounds really cool. And what do we do now? So I thought, how do you start a channel? I couldn't get a license. There was no opportunity to get a license for free-to-air. They'd all been taken, all gone. But I also felt that it was important to create a platform that could travel and one could use technology to drive and would be Pan-African at the same time. So I had a show on DSTV. I said, let me have a conversation with DSTV. So Joe Hunda, that had approved the initial Moments with me, I said, Joe, I want to start a TV channel. And he's like, no, love, we don't just do channels like that. I'm not sure we need another channel, but you can try. So I said, who do I contact? He now said, you need to contact a lady called Aletta Alberts. I said, can I have her email address? So he gave me her email. And this is how it starts. I didn't know her from Adam. Sent her an email. And eventually she responded. She sent me a form that's longer than anything else. Not hundreds, but several pages of what is the name of the channel, what is the content. Questions that I did not even know, because it made me think about, wow, you want to start a channel, but did you know you're going to have to know this much before you can actually start the channel? The schedule, the types of programs, the budget. There were so many questions. Eventually, I did the best I could to answer the questions, and I sent the form back to her. And then I kept chasing her, and she wasn't answering me, because apparently they get requests at least 10 to 20 a day from people that want to set up TV channels from Nigeria. So eventually, I said, I'm going to be in South Africa because I was shooting an episode of Women Should Know, and could I please come in and see you? So that was my hook of getting in the door. So I went in and I had a meeting. So before having the meeting, I then hired someone that was already in the world of media to do me a beautiful presentation around this is the sort of content we would have on the channel. Went in and did the presentation and left the meeting. They said, well, this isn't quite it. So I was devastated because I'd actually paid someone quite a large sum of money to do that presentation. It wasn't working. So they were like, if you want this channel, you have to go back and do X, Y, Z. And we had workshop after workshop after workshop deciding on who was going to be our key dem. Who do you really want to speak to across the continent? What is the conversation? What are the genres? What are the hours? How are you going to produce these hours? Who is going to produce these hours? Who is going to do your post-production? How are you going to clear things through legal? There is a battle and a half of things you need to clear to create 1 hour of content. So eventually, after several months of now having gone back, having left them and gone back to do another presentation with all of this things, I had to engage a consultant. I couldn't find anyone in Nigeria to do it because the skill sets don't exist. I found someone in South Africa, again, had to invest a huge amount of money that could have gone into maybe a nice bag on a holiday. Let's just get this presentation done. Let's do the strategy session. After which we then did the presentation. We now went back into multi-choice to present. Then they bought the idea. But now they gave us conditions. This is a beautiful presentation, but you need to raise X, Y, Z amounts of money. You need to have a studio before you can do all of this. So, which is why I say sometimes you need to pray hard and work hard. At the same time, a good friend of mine...
You had to raise the money on your own.
I had to raise the money, and the story about how that raised is what I'd like to share. At the same time, all this is happening, a good friend of mine, Oz Giwa Amu, says to me, you need to go to Cross River and interview the governor. And I was like, I'm trying to raise money for my channel. I'm trying to do all these things. I don't really, but eventually he persuaded me. And I also had wanted to do that interview for the longest time. Got on a plane on New Year's Day, about 5 years ago, went to Calabar to go and do this interview with His Excellency then at the time, Governor Leo Limoke, and his wife Obiama at the time. But at the same time, I had a sponsor for my show Moments with Mo. And the sponsor had threatened to pull out unless I started having a presence on social media. Because I wasn't tweeting. I didn't know anything about it. I was just doing my thing. So I got a PR person, register me on Twitter, do my Facebook and do all of that. So when I got to Calabar that evening, I sent a message saying, Happy New Year, lots of love from Calabar. And someone said to me, what's happening in Tinapa? I'd never been to Tinapa in my entire life. So I was with a friend in the car who said, let me take you there, let's drive around. We went there. Beautiful place. Beautiful but empty. As in, nothing was in Tinapa. So the next day, when I was going to interview the governor, then Inzan Ogbe, who was a special assistant, said, come in and have a conversation with His Excellency before you start your interview. I never met him. I didn't know what to say to him. The first thing I said was, Your Excellency, we went to Tinapa yesterday, but it's very empty. What's going on? That is how that conversation started. That is how we got the support we needed for the channel. Now, I didn't know, on one hand, you're looking to set up a channel. On the other hand, a friend is saying, come and interview the governor. You have a sponsor saying you need to start tweeting. You put all of that together, you send a tweet message out, and Bob's your uncle. Somehow, a couple of years later, about 18 months later, Cross River State came on board as our partner. We promised to use that Tinapa studio as our destination point for media. And that was the catalyst for getting Ebony Life TV started. And they also supported us on the fundraising for Ebony Life TV. So at times it's about putting all those elements together. So when people say to you, what is your recipe? I can't say to you, don't tweet or don't go to Cross River and interview the governor. You're going to have to just work hard enough for the universe to conspire to say, okay, I am going to give you your break. I believe that there are dream makers for all of us out there. We all have to meet our dream makers. And on the other hand, there are your dream killers, those that are they cannot wait to kill the dream. So you have to balance, the dream killers and the dream makers and see how you get out of that cycle. Yeah.
A lesson I hear as well from just listening to you is also having your radar on.
Sometimes you think it's going nowhere.
Yes.
And sometimes for the hell of it, just go along with whatever it is because you never know where it's going to lead to. You never ever know. It could be one night you're out having a drink. You could be in a supermarket. You could be absolutely anywhere when the opportunity comes to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing I think you're very good at, and I think that's really critical in entrepreneurship, is finding the right talent. Where do you source talent and what are the things you look out for? Because when I think about Ebony Life TV and everything you do, actually, you have a great team.
We have a fantastic team.
How do you find them?
Again, I think the universe will conspire to sort of bring you the right people, but I think maybe being a HR person, I think also has helped a great deal in understanding what the processes are that you need to go through to find the right talent. I can't work with anyone on my team that is not ready to reply an email at 3:00 in the morning. I know it sounds crazy, but you must be able to work hard. You've got to be able to identify where they're coming from, the things they've done. There's someone here with me today. Eunice is here with me today. And Eunice was based in America. And I had to plead with her to come back to Nigeria to work with us. Because even before she joined us as a member of our team, as our head of strategy, we had already started working together on little things. Not officially. Like if I was going to go to the States, she would even proactively volunteer. She would proactively help me do things without me even asking. And I'm thinking, this is the sort of person you want on your team to be there for you in your own corner. And then eventually I pleaded and said, please come back. And she packed up her bags and she's come back to Nigeria. So for me, it's really about just putting your feelers out there. And you need to have that fifth sense. You need to be able to say to yourself, is this person going to be a part of your team? And you can pretty much suss out people that work hard and people that are just BSing. I'm sorry to say that, there are a lot of people that they're all talk and they're just not going to do the work. And I can't deal with that, So immediately I'll rule them. At times you're going to make recruitment errors. And when you do, you say, thank you very much, but it's not going to work out. Bye-bye. And then you move on to the next person. And that's pretty much how I've built the team. But I think more than anything, it's really just about finding people that can plug in. And we have a lot of young people with us. Monica, our head of social media, is here. She joined us, 3-4 years ago. And, it's incredible how she has grown into her job, And it's really just about finding the right team of people and then sharing the dream. And then just being conscientious about the things that they need to do. and you not having to say it a million times before they do it and micromanage them, for them to practically say, okay, what about this and what about that, and we're all learning together. And I like to have lots of people around me that even know more than I do about certain things, because you don't know it all. I don't know it all. So my daughter is working with Ebony Life now. She's got some crazy ideas. She's like, Mom, we need to do this. And I'm like, okay, we're targeting your age. Okay, I will listen to you. So it doesn't, for me, it's about making sure we have an inclusive team that, they can tell us about things that they think are going to work for the channel or for whatever business it is. And we just fly with those ideas. Yeah. And because we're small, for us, we're able to just get things done very quickly. We don't have to get 10 levels of approval before we do them. Maybe like you guys, Google, there's going to be such a massive organization. But with us, we can pretty much say, okay, we're going to run with this. So we can execute things really quickly as a small organization.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open it up very shortly to questions from the audience. But I'll ask one more question before I do that. What gives you inner joy and fulfillment from all your engagements?
I think for me, the highlight of my existence, probably number one, with my children. I think that for me, they are the most important thing in my life. If I had to give everything I have up for my kids, I would do so tomorrow. And I say that 100%, I would. My mom is she's my everything, my sisters. I put God before everything I absolutely do. I just think it's so important for me to have that sense of direction. And, what I find interesting is that people don't often know your relationship with God. And they make assumptions about how you've achieved certain things. They don't even know how you've achieved them. And what I find interesting is that is my secret. I share it a lot, but I think sometimes they're not listening to the fact that if you put Him first, if you listen to Him truly, it doesn't matter, I've got these 6-inch heels on, I've got my lashes or whatever. In my moment when I'm on my knees there, praying to Him, it is between Him and I having that conversation. And He's saying, Mo, do this. This is the most important thing for you to do. So He guides my every move that I do. And He just gives me the confidence to go out there and say, there's nothing that is really too much that we can't achieve. Because with Him, you know that all things are truly possible. And that's what I continue to believe in. Yeah.
So I'm going to pause with my questions and see if there are any questions from our very lovely team.
Yay.
Yeah.
I think for me, the skills that I struggle with most are probably my people skills, because I'm so impatient to get things done at times that I'm sure I'm driving everybody around me crazy, because I kind of want it to happen now. Because at times I'm I micromanage, I will do it myself. If you can't give it to me now, I'm that kind of person. But I think that as we grow, I think skills are something that with age, you get better at them. Because I know I'm a much better person now than I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So I think it's gradual. And I think it's also important to keep learning about the skills that you have, that you need, and to practice. I find I practice the skills that I need. Even public speaking, at times I practice because I'm not the best public speaker. I want to be, and I'm constantly challenged by the fact that I'm not going to say no to going out and speaking in public, but I'm going to learn to be a better public speaker. So it's really about teaching yourself those skills that you need. And I think skills come with habit. Once you practice it enough times, it then becomes a reality for you. So whatever skills that you think you're lacking, just work at them. If it's that you're not smiling, you know what? Keep smiling. You smile enough times, you're going to find yourself just smiling without even thinking about it, because the mind is a very funny thing. It just kind of just takes over and does those things without you even thinking about it. Absolutely. From my own personal experience, from my experience, it's pretty much been about the fact that you need to share the dream. If you have a big dream, you can't do the dream by yourself. You're going to have to look for other people that you can invite in to make the dream a reality. When I was setting up Vic Lawrence, I didn't need support because I started very small. But when I moved on to do the Protea Hotel Oakwood Park, it was a $10 million. I don't have $10 million. I had to now go out there and do a proper placement, info memo, and get people to buy into the project. And it takes time. You're not going to say to someone, come and invest $3 million and they're going to just sign a check tomorrow. No. Some would say yes, some would say no. So there was a process of engagement. It's pretty much the same thing happened with Moments with More. I had to go out there, as I said earlier, and engage and get people to buy into the dream. Ebony Live TV was the same thing. I didn't have the required capital to set up a TV channel, so I had to find a partner. And those dreams can sometimes take time, to become a reality, because cash is king and you need the cash. But you just have to keep, once you stay focused that you want to achieve this dream, those things will come into the play in that, and with Moments with More, I started with 1 season, but initially my whole idea was I was looking for money to get me comfortable for a year. And when I couldn't find money for a year, I decided to take Mac's advice and just do 1 season. So if you can find ways to start small, then you start small. And then once people can see success, like now, everybody in Nigeria wants to do a film. After the success of the wedding party, they're like, can we come and partner with you? Do you want money? People are offering us money to partner. So success has its own, successes, and that others will come and say, can they come and be part of your own success? So once you can achieve some level of success, then you just have to invite, but never be afraid of inviting people in to share in your dream. I mean, you've got to be careful, do your due diligence and all of that, but all things being equal, nobody, I don't think there's anyone that owns anything 100% anymore. I mean, it doesn't happen. That is a tough one, because there are some women that decide that when it's time to raise the kids, I'm out. I'm just going to focus on raising my children. And then there are some people like me who are a little bit more selfish, who believe that they can have everything. So you need to be single-minded about the fact that I love my children, but at the same time, I have this dream. So how am I going to be able to juggle all of those things? You need to have a great support system around you. You need to spend quality time with your children, because I find a lot of housewives that call themselves housewives, they're not even at home half the time. They're probably out having lunch or doing their nails or somewhere. So, but they have deceived themselves that they are there. So in that regard, that you are working, you therefore it became part of my day to say that I'm going to spend XYZ amount of time with my children. I'm going to, we're going to go out on this day. We're going to take this holiday. We're going to do those things. And when it's really time for me to take myself out of work 100%, like when my son was going to go do his A-levels and my daughter, I had to physically take the time out and say, I'm not working for a month. I'm going to go. We're going to have to search for where you're going to do your A-levels in England. And that was it. And you close down shop until you come back to do those things. So it's really about prioritizing. And I think what happens with working mothers is that I think your kids become strong. I hope so. Mine have. That they become strong knowing that my mom is working. You're also a role model to your daughter, that she's going to know that her mom has worked. Your son, my mom has worked hard. So that when he marries his wife, he's not going to say sit at home because he's seen his mother that's working. So I think we're also preparing our kids for the fact that it's okay to have, your dreams are valid. To borrow, please don't let me be sued for plagiarism here. Your dreams are valid. You can take that on to know that you can go out there and achieve your dreams the same way that your husband is achieving his dreams, right? So why can't you achieve yours? So I think it's just about finding the fact that you need to find the happy medium, the happy balance, and have a good support system, and let the kids know you really love them when you're there. That's what has worked for me. But I can't say that same recipe will work for everyone, because everyone is different. We're not all the same. So my DNA will be different to the next person's DNA. But that is pretty much what I have done. Yeah.
That's interesting as well. And you touched on something. Do you believe that it's possible to have it all?
Not all the time. I think something will give. You can't have it all the time. You cannot. It's not possible. So you have to decide on what is important to you. It's like the woman that decides to stay at home with her kids, that wanted a career but couldn't have it. She's had to give certain things up. So I don't think anyone can have it all. I think we just have to try and do the best that we can, and live, just try and be as good as we can, really, and be honest with ourselves about the capabilities and the capacities that we have, because we can't do everything. There are only certain things that we can do, and I think we need to just look at ourselves and say, this is who I am. Yes, when I am in this mode of work, I can be obsessive. My friends can think I'm selfish because I don't want to see anybody. But if that's what gets me to get the results that I need, then I'm going to do those things. And when I'm done, then I will find a way to just go back and get back into the swing of things. And yeah. I think we have a lot of talent in Nigeria. And if I look at the success of Ebony Life Television, it has been based on the fact that one of my biggest concerns at the time when we actually started the channel was, where am I going to find the talent? Because I looked at the TV landscape and I was pretty much appalled by the talents that I saw. So I don't understand the hiring decisions or how people decided to put certain... I look at TV, I'm like, why is this person on TV? What skills do they have? Why do they look this way? So for me, it was really important to understand the look and feel that we were after, and then find the right people that we could put into that look and feel, even if they didn't have the necessary experience. Wumi is here today, or Mimi. She does a lot of work. She's one of our presenters on the channel. And I remember that how she's tenacious. I remember how she hounded me down at the time and said, I want to become a presenter on your channel. And I was like, we don't have any spaces. And then she would keep sending me emails. And then I said, okay, send me your show reel. And then one day we needed a presenter for a show. And that's how she became one of our best presenters. She is so off the mark with just getting things done. But prior to that, did you have any experience? Really, she had none. But I don't think that everybody knows who she is today, 2 or 3 years later. So the same applies to our channel. Even Ebuka, that is doing the Big Brother in South Africa, has been on the spot and has been with us for many, many years. We have a lot of talent in Nigeria. But I think the reason why Big Brother is being shot there is for business reasons. We are also shooting in South Africa right now. It is for business reasons. Also, the world is a global village. We can't keep limiting ourselves to, oh, I'm fighting this cause that everything must be done in Nigeria. No, I want to do programs in America. I want to do programs in the UK that I can sell to a UK broadcaster. Why should my limit be just a Nigerian market, especially with the Naira doing what it's doing now? So my guys and I are actually off to England to go and shoot some pilots of some of our very good shows with a British cast, and we're going to go to America to do the same with an American cast, because we need to widen the net. Shonda Rhimes is a black woman just like I am. She's written Grey's Anatomy. I don't think everybody in Grey's Anatomy is black, right? So she's just a very talented person that is doing great work in the big wild world of media. We have to learn to take that on as well, and to understand that we can go anywhere in the world and make content and make programming. That's what I think we need to do. We need to just open the blinkers and just see the world widely for what it truly is. And that's what I want to do now that the Naira has crashed. And maybe you should do the same.